Take a moment to settle in and let your thoughts gather around the idea of living like a modern-day emperor, guided by 7 timeless Stoic rules. Stoicism, forged in the schools of ancient Greece and Rome, teaches us not only how to endure life's storms, but how to stand taller because of them. These ideas, refined by the likes of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, have endured centuries for a reason. They speak to those unchanging parts of ourselves that yearn for a life of peace, purpose, and inner mastery. When we speak of an emperor, an image of imposing power and outward splendor often comes to mind. Yet, the most renowned Stoic emperor, Marcus Aurelius, left behind a personal diary rather than grand monuments to his name. Through that intimate collection of reflections, later known as meditations, we glean a different portrait of emperorship: calm authority rooted in virtue, courage in the face of unavoidable pain, and compassion laced with firm self-control. These are the underpinnings of true leadership that transcends titles. They form the blueprint for anyone striving to rule themselves, in effect, to be emperor over their own existence. The 7 Stoic rules shared here will not revolve around wielding unchecked might or attaining external glory. Instead, they involve forging a deep resilience, an unshakable presence of mind, and a commitment to living by principles that nourish our highest potential. In a modern landscape often clouded by distractions, negativity, and mounting anxieties, each rule aims to anchor you to something more enduring than fleeting applause. They also remind you that the seat of your power lies within your own heart and reason. Close your eyes if you like, and imagine you are in a grand, open hallway with polished floors. Tall windows reveal a quiet cityscape below. Busy streets, skyward towers, and swirling bustle. Within these walls it feels serene, untouched by the frantic rush of life outside. Within you, there is also that sense of quiet potential, a hall of the mind where you can reflect and stand apart from the busyness beyond. That place is where you can integrate these 7 Stoic rules. Rule 1. Know what you can and cannot. Control, central to Stoicism, is the capacity to distinguish between events under your control and those beyond it. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus famously said, "We are disturbed not by events, but by our judgments about them." When external circumstances press in, be it a disappointing result at work, an unexpected crisis, or the chatter of social media, your greatest power is to decide how to interpret and respond. Imagine the mental and emotional energy expended on matters you simply cannot change. The outcome of global events, the nature of someone else's personality, or the passage of time. Worry, complaint, or resentment over the inevitable wastes your inner resources. Instead, focus on refining your own actions, thoughts, and moral intentions. This is not passive acceptance or an excuse for inaction. Rather, it's a wise reallocation of your energy toward things that truly lie within your scope of influence. Think of your mind like an inner fortress. The world may fling its arrows and catapult stones at the gates, but the choice remains yours, whether to unlock the door from inside. You can preserve your tranquility if you stay aware of your own sphere, your decisions, your words, your daily routine, and your perspective. Modern life offers countless triggers that can provoke anger, anxiety, or despair. But if you practice letting go of what you can't control, a sense of calm determination emerges. In this sense, you become a modern emperor, not through conquest of the external world, but through command over your reactions. Embracing this principle requires daily reminders. Some people write a small note or affirmation each morning. Focus on what you can change. Accept what you cannot. or they do a brief meditation to reinforce it. Over time, you begin catching yourself before lamenting something truly beyond your reach, harnessing that energy to improve what you can. You might not halt the storms outside, but you can learn to sail expertly through them. Rule 2. Embrace adversity as a teacher. No ruler worth remembering was ever without trials. In fact, adversity is the crucible that shapes a person's legacy. Marcus Aurelius reigned during plagues and military turmoil, yet used these hardships to refine his virtue and perspective, rather than crumble in despair. For a modern-day emperor, each misfortune is not simply an obstacle, but a test that reveals hidden strengths or deeper vulnerabilities, both of which lead to growth if acknowledged. Embracing adversity does not mean seeking out suffering. It means refusing to avert your eyes from life's difficulties. You might notice how often the mind tries to wish away hardships or label them as merely unfair. Stoicism suggests that by reconceptualizing challenges as signals for growth, you circumvent bitterness and discover a reservoir of resilience. If life sends you setbacks, perhaps the loss of a job or a betrayal by someone close, anger and resentment might arise immediately. But if you adopt a Stoic perspective, you pause to notice. This experience, while painful, can refine me. Imagine you are forging a blade in the fire. The furnace's heat is intense, but that very heat allows the metal to become strong and resilient. Without it, the blade stays soft and easily dented. In your own life, adversity is that heat, testing the metal of your character. The key is not to hide from the flame, but to grow tempered rather than burned. One practice is to keep a journal, like a modern version of meditations, where you note day-to-day challenges, reflecting on how you responded and how you might respond more gracefully in the future. Over weeks, patterns emerge. You see the triggers that repeatedly unsettle you, and you begin to sense how hardships consistently reveal your core illusions, weaknesses, or hidden fears. Seeing adversity this way transforms it into life's ongoing workshop for your improvement. You meet harsh circumstances with self-compassion, realism, and a quietly burning drive to excel. Rule 3. Cultivate inner discipline above all. At the heart of any empire is discipline. Without it, chaos reigns, resources squander, and momentum decays. The same principle applies to your internal empire. Stoics taught that mastering the self is more vital than mastering kingdoms. To do so involves building daily habits and mental frameworks that keep your mind clear, your emotions stable, and your moral compass aligned. Start with small daily routines. Ancient Stoics rose early to reflect on the day ahead, set intentions, and clarify what virtues they wanted to practice. You might do something similar, whether it's a short meditation, breathing exercise, or reading a philosophical snippet to anchor your mindset. The point is consistency. You're training your willpower, much like the body is trained through repeated exercise. As you go about your tasks, remain watchful for distractions that sabotage discipline. In the modern world, that might be incessant social media scrolling or the addictive pull of constant notifications. These scattered engagements, though seemingly harmless, erode your power of sustained focus. Stoicism encourages a purposeful approach. Use technology and entertainment with deliberate intention, not as mindless escapes. Imagine your discipline as a flame that must be guarded from gusts of wind. Each time you remain firm, resisting a small craving or completing a task before letting yourself be entertained, you build your flame stronger. Internal discipline also extends to emotional regulation. The Stoics recognized that strong emotions can blind reason. They counseled consistent self-awareness, so you notice surges of anger, jealousy, or fear early enough to keep them in check. Instead of venting or allowing negative emotion to swirl unchecked, you gently ask whether the emotional reaction is proportionate. Over time, it feels as if you have an inner guard, calmly guiding your emotional states. This isn't about suppressing emotion in an unhealthy way, but channeling it so that reason remains your wise counselor. Rule 4. Practice memento mori. Remember death, affirm life. At first glance, the idea of remember you must die may seem grim. Yet the Stoics insisted that reflecting on mortality is one of the most liberating habits. Life's fleeting nature confers urgency and clarity upon your every choice. This is what fuels gratitude and presence. Marcus Aurelius advised reminding yourself each day that you are not guaranteed another sunrise. By regularly facing the inevitability of death, you paradoxically unlock a deeper appreciation for living. When you see life as finite, petty worries lose some of their sting. You might still be annoyed by a rude coworker or a traffic jam, but the sense of proportion shifts. Memento mori is a mental tool that shrinks trivial anxieties and spotlights the preciousness of time. The lines on your face, the changing seasons, the movement of the sun overhead. None of these stand still, just as your own life does not. This need not cause panic. Instead, it can inspire you to use your limited time well. Many find it helpful to incorporate a small practice. Glance at a simple object or image each morning that reminds you of mortality, or speak a brief reflection. I have this day, and this day only, guaranteed. This subtle prompt helps you face your tasks, relationships, and personal challenges with heightened sincerity. Decisions become clearer. You are less prone to ephemeral distractions when you remember that your days are a diminishing resource. The clarity induced by memento mori infuses life with a sober joy. You stand in awe of simple pleasures, the warmth of sunlight, a shared laugh with someone close, or the satisfaction of a day spent in purposeful work. Even the act of pouring yourself a cup of tea can become a moment of reverence. Stoics realized that ignoring death does not banish it. Mindful acceptance of it, however, can help you savor the gift of existence in the most genuine way. Rule 5. Pursue virtue as your highest calling. Virtue stands at the core of Stoic ethics: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. These four cardinal virtues shape every aspect of the Stoic path, from how you treat yourself to how you engage with society. In your quest to be a modern-day emperor, these virtues serve as the counsel that informs each royal decree in the parliament of your mind. Wisdom means seeking truth, acknowledging the limits of your knowledge, and sharpening your understanding of reality. This includes self-honesty, knowing your strengths, your flaws, and the illusions you tend to cling to. Courage involves perseverance and moral fortitude, not necessarily bravery in battle. Sometimes it's about speaking honestly when it's easier to remain silent, or continuing with unwavering integrity when corners could be cut. Temperance is self-control, moderation in thoughts, actions, and appetites. It doesn't demand harsh asceticism, but calls for a balanced enjoyment of life without letting impulses rule you. Justice compels you to uphold fairness, consider the needs of others, and contribute positively to the greater community. For the Stoics, virtue was never purely intellectual. It was practical, and demanded real-world application, shaping how you manage relationships, your environment, and your own mental states. To internalize virtue, cultivate daily reflection. Much like Marcus Aurelius did in his personal writings, ask yourself each evening, where did I act wisely today? And where did I falter? Did I show courage in the face of challenge? Was I moderate in my desires and actions? Did I treat those around me with kindness and fairness? Over time, these virtues become second nature. You begin to sense that genuine respect from yourself and from others springs from consistent virtuous conduct. In the modern age, virtue might look like honesty in business dealings, empathy in leadership, or dedicating personal time to help others in need. It's not about moral perfection. Stoics never claim to be perfect, but a daily, sincere effort to embody virtue lifts your character and fosters a sense of noble satisfaction. Rule 6. Reflect daily. The Emperor's Quiet Counsel. When you imagine the hush of an emperor's private chamber, you might envision nighttime, perhaps by lamplight, where the emperor contemplates matters of the kingdom. Similarly, you can foster the habit of daily reflection. This practice stands at the core of Stoic self-improvement. Call it journaling, call it introspection, or call it simply a moment of solitude before bed. The name doesn't matter, but the method does. Throughout the day, we are caught in the flurry of tasks, conversations, and fleeting emotional states. Setting aside time to review them clarifies what happened beneath the surface. Did you keep your composure when faced with a rude comment? Were you as patient as you intended to be? Did you remain calm about events beyond your control? Through this gentle, consistent self-examination, you strengthen your awareness and see where you can improve. Seneca often urged his readers to set aside time each day to look themselves in the mirror, so to speak, and judge how well they adhered to Stoic ideals. By building this routine, you become more deliberate in the way you handle tomorrow's encounters. Daily reflection prevents you from sleepwalking through life. Instead, you remain vigilant, noticing habits before they become ruts, and gently guiding yourself toward a path of steadier virtue. Remember that reflection is not an exercise in self-condemnation. It's a balanced approach. Acknowledge what you did well, then identify specific ways to handle your shortcomings better next time. In time, you realize that these small increments of improvement add up. The focus is never on being perfect, but on continually steering yourself closer to the person you aspire to be. Rule 7. Serve a greater cause. At the pinnacle of Stoic teachings lies the recognition that we are all threads woven into a larger tapestry of humanity. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about his responsibility, not just to rule, but to serve as a steward of the people's well-being. Even if you aren't literally an emperor, the principle remains. Your actions ripple through your community, workplace, and relationships. Finding a higher purpose or meaning beyond mere personal gain galvanizes the soul. It might be as straightforward as volunteering your time, mentoring younger colleagues, or using your talents in a way that elevates the collective good. The Stoics taught that every individual has a role in the cosmic order, a form of moral interdependence that underlines the need to act ethically in all you do. When you reorient your priorities to include a higher ideal, your everyday struggles fit into a broader perspective. Obstacles become less personal frustrations and more stepping stones that refine you so you can contribute better to the greater cause. This sense of shared humanity is deeply woven through Stoic thought. Beyond the borders of your own ambitions lies the entire commonwealth of humankind, and taking steps to serve that commonwealth ennobles your efforts. In simpler terms, do your work and do it well, not just to climb a personal ladder, but because you trust that conscientious effort helps the whole. In your friendships, do not merely look for what you can gain, but for the ways you can offer compassion and support. Stoics believe that what is good for all, if approached wisely, also leads to your own deeper sense of fulfillment. And that is how a modern-day emperor stands tall, not through ego or domination, but through leading by moral example. These 7 rules: knowing what's in your control, embracing adversity, cultivating discipline, practicing memento mori, pursuing virtue, reflecting daily, and serving a greater cause, together form a moral compass that can guide you through anything life unveils. Living them transforms you into a steadfast presence, calm, principled, and quietly influential, like an emperor who, instead of erecting vast palaces, devotes his efforts to the well-being of those under his protection. As you gently inhale and exhale, picture this entire philosophy settling into you. With each breath, you absorb the serenity and strength that Stoicism offers. Over time, it becomes second nature to check your impulses, remind yourself of your values, and respond to life's chaos from a place of composure. Gradually, you step into the role of the wise ruler of your own mind, guided by unshakable principles, not fleeting whims. A modern-day emperor, in the Stoic sense, is someone who never stops learning, who stands firm yet open-minded in adversity, and who wields compassion as skillfully as discipline. It is leadership from within. It is the ultimate power that no external force can seize. The power of self-mastery, welded firmly to moral purpose. And like Marcus Aurelius, who left behind reflections rather than conquests, your real legacy will be your day-to-day exemplification of clarity, empathy, and steadiness, a legacy written not in gold, but in the hearts and memories of those you touch along the journey. Pause now, in a reflective moment, letting each of these Stoic principles gently swirl and settle. Feel free to take a slow breath, inhaling through your nose, then exhaling with measured calmness. This is the essence of the Stoic approach, a conscious, deliberate presence in everything. As we continue weaving through these rules, think of how each one resonates with your daily life. It is in the routine, those small, repetitive decisions, that the foundation of your inner empire is laid. The overarching Stoic promise is not a life absent of pain or shielded from sudden misfortune. Rather, it is to pass through storms without capsizing, guided by an unbreakable moral and rational core. History has watched how even the greatest emperors confronted betrayal, sickness, or heartbreak. And yet, those who clung firmly to these philosophical moorings could maintain dignity, fairness, and courage. To live like a modern emperor is to rule from a throne within your own heart, establishing a domain of awareness. Let us deepen this exploration by looking more specifically at the internal practices that keep you aligned with Stoic wisdom day after day. If the previous segment laid out the 7 rules, the following reflections aim to bring them into sharper focus, applying them to modern challenges. Imagine this as an extended conversation with the old philosophers themselves, bridging centuries to your living room, your workspace, or wherever you stand. Strengthening the pillar of self-observation. The Stoics believed wholeheartedly in the power of reflection, a concept we introduced as the daily practice of introspection. They recognized that our minds are often scattered by competing impulses or overshadowed by external clamor. By cultivating a watchful eye, we build a vantage point from which to notice our emotional tides before they become raging storms. In practice, this might look like frequently checking in with your emotional state. Am I tense right now? Am I carrying anger that stems from an earlier conversation? It can be as quick as a few seconds between tasks. Over time, these micro-pauses grant you small windows to breathe, to center, and to re-choose your mental direction. They also help you see how your environment can nudge your mind. For example, continuously scrolling through unsettling news might lead to simmering anxiety, or engaging in petty gossip might stoke negativity. Awareness here is not about guilt. It is about knowledge, knowing precisely what influences you and deciding whether to continue or shift your course. Minding your circles of control. To truly embody the first Stoic rule, consider mapping out specific circles of control in your life. In the innermost circle, place your thoughts, attitudes, moral intentions, and immediate actions. In the middle circle, place areas you partially influence, such as project outcomes at work or interactions with friends. In the outer circle, place everything you have no real sway over, like the weather, political events, or other people's private choices. Reflecting on these circles can be especially helpful when you sense frustration flaring up. Perhaps you watch headlines about global tensions and feel helpless. A Stoic mind acknowledges that while you might influence your local community or vote in elections, you cannot single-handedly steer the entire world. Freed from the compulsion to solve everything, you channel your energy into constructive steps within your sphere of influence. This approach sets you free from paralyzing negativity or constant outrage. An emperor who comprehends the extent of his domain is better able to govern effectively. In your life, that empire might be smaller in scale, but the principle is the same. By acknowledging the boundaries of your influence, you preserve mental and emotional resources for truly meaningful efforts. Taming the inner critic. Through compassion. One overlooked aspect of Stoic practice is self-compassion. People sometimes associate Stoicism with harshness or unfeeling stoicism. Yet Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself to show kindness to both others and to himself. When you slip up, whether in controlling your temper or meeting a personal goal, it's tempting to spiral into self-blame or harsh criticism. However, a Stoic approach recognizes that mistakes are part of learning. The only real failure is refusing to examine those errors or letting them define you. If you respond with understanding and a clear intention to improve, mistakes become stepping stones. Overly punishing yourself can trap you in negativity, ironically sabotaging the discipline you're trying to build. Instead, calmly note the error, consider how to prevent its recurrence, and then move forward with renewed focus. This balanced method can keep you from illusions of perfection. Remember that even an emperor is not an infallible being. They are simply a person entrusted with higher responsibilities. Similarly, you have responsibilities to yourself, your well-being, your development, your moral path. Treat yourself as you'd treat a friend who momentarily stumbled, with patience, encouragement, and gentle guidance back to the root of virtue. Stoic approaches to modern challenges now. Bring these Stoic teachings directly into today's context. The noise of social media can be a significant stressor, fueling constant comparisons or conflict. A Stoic perspective reminds you that opinions of strangers are neither under your control nor necessarily relevant to your life's purpose. Instead of reacting emotionally to digital disagreements, you can practice detachment. Observe your own reactions, reevaluate whether to engage, and if you do respond, do so from a place of calm reasoning rather than heated retaliation. Consider the demands of a high-pressure job, possibly with strict deadlines or frequent competition. While you may not alter the entire corporate environment, you can decide how to carry yourself within it. Do you maintain ethical standards even if some around you cut corners? Do you allow external pressure to compromise your sense of self? By focusing on your chosen virtues, you create an internal code that remains stable whether the workplace culture is supportive or cutthroat. Think about interpersonal tensions, whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or familial ties. Stoicism suggests you first examine your role in conflicts. Are you imposing unrealistic expectations? Are you letting pride overshadow compassion? Then approach the relationship with humility and sincerity. If the other person's behavior is beyond your influence, accept that boundary. Offer understanding, but do not fixate on forcing them to meet your preferences. This balanced stance can diffuse bitterness, even when it leads you to walk away from toxic dynamics for your well-being. Integrating memento mori in routine. The daily remembrance of mortality can be practiced in subtle ways. Some people keep a small item, such as a ring or bracelet, etched with memento mori, glancing at it throughout the day. Others might reflect upon the transience of life in a quick morning or bedtime meditation. I do not know how many more times I will see the sunrise. Let me embrace this day with sincerity. If you're faced with mundane frustrations, an annoyingly slow commute, a rude stranger in line, reminding yourself of life's impermanence can bring humor and proportion to your reaction. Indeed, how crucial is it to get worked up over minor annoyances when the entire tapestry of life can end abruptly? Instead, you might choose to hum a tune or reflect on a virtue you'd like to embody in that moment. This not only eases your own stress, but also subtly lifts the atmosphere around you. Service as the emperor's true badge. Recall the final rule about serving a cause larger than personal gain. Stoics place immense value on the well-being of the collective. Even if you are not physically crowned, you hold moral leadership in your circles. This manifests in everyday ways, taking time to mentor a new coworker, volunteering in community outreach, or simply being the friend who listens earnestly without judgment. An emperor invests in the prosperity of his realm. Likewise, you can invest in the harmony of your home, social circles, or local area. The beauty of Stoic thought is that it never separates moral duty from daily life. How you handle small interactions, like tipping a waiter generously, picking up litter on a sidewalk, or consoling a neighbor, reflects your internal Stoic convictions as surely as any large-scale philanthropic endeavor. With each humble act of service, you remind yourself that your personal progress is intertwined with the betterment of those around you. Fearless authenticity in a shifting world. Another nuance is that living like a modern emperor may sometimes set you apart from popular culture. In an era that prizes fleeting spectacle, obsession with trivial dramas, and instant gratification, the Stoics' quietly confident manner might seem countercultural. By foregoing the chase for superficial prestige, you cultivate an authenticity that resonates on a deeper level. Instead of craving likes and follows, you measure your success by how true you remain to your chosen virtues. This Stoic brand of authenticity can feel quietly liberating as you free yourself from the burden of performing for external validation. Being an emperor over yourself is not loud. It doesn't demand parading around with grand declarations of your philosophy. It's the subtle shift in your posture, calm but not aloof, strong but not arrogant. It's the way you handle unexpected criticisms, a short word from you that diffuses tension instead of igniting it. It's the patience you extend in the face of repeated mistakes, your own or others. And all these come together to foster a sense of regal composure, not out of vanity, but out of a consistent practice of rational and moral alignment. Stoic exercises to root each rule in daily life. Morning intention setting. Before you turn on your phone or dive into the day, sit quietly, breathe in and out a few times, and then silently remind yourself, I will focus on what is within my power. I will remain calm and just, no matter what arises. This purposeful moment of clarity anchors your mindset. Physical symbol of adversity. Keep a small weight or a stone at your desk as a reminder that life's burdens can be lifted and harnessed to build your strength. Whenever frustration or difficulty arises, glance at it. Ask yourself, How can I become stronger and wiser through this situation? Regular pause for discipline. Each time you notice yourself mindlessly reaching for your phone, pause and ask, is this action intentional or am I escaping? This single beat of awareness fosters discipline. If you decide to proceed, do so with full acknowledgement. If not, place the phone away and direct your focus where it's truly needed. Reflect on mortality. Use a journal or a short recorded note on your phone at the day's end. If this were my last day, did I live aligned with my values? Far from inducing fear, it often reignites a spark of gratitude, intensifying your commitment to living well tomorrow. Micro-virtue commitments. Select one cardinal virtue, wisdom, courage, temperance, or justice, and commit to a small act, exemplifying it each day. For instance, choose to listen intently, wisdom, when a colleague shares a problem, or speak an uncomfortable truth, gently but firmly, courage, in a meeting. By focusing on a single virtue daily, you systematically cultivate a well-rounded moral character. Nightly inventory. Gently replay the day's events before sleeping. Where did you excel in your Stoic approach? Where did you stumble? No need for guilt or pride. Simply observe and learn. Such a habit cements the day's lessons in your mind. Community outreach. Periodically schedule an activity that benefits others. Tutoring, helping a local nonprofit, or assisting a neighbor. Reflect afterward on how this service resonates with your Stoic pursuit of a greater cause. Let it remind you that your well-being and that of the community are intertwined. Through these methods, each Stoic rule becomes tangible. Instead of residing in abstract philosophical ideals, they weave themselves into the fabric of your day. The intention is not to perfect each practice overnight, but to recognize that each small step accumulates. Over weeks and months, you find your reactions calm more rapidly, your perspective broadens, your regrets lessen, and your sense of quiet confidence grows. Sustaining momentum on the Stoic path. Like any meaningful journey, living by Stoic principles is not a short sprint, but a long, steady marathon. The busyness and unpredictability of modern life can easily steer you off course if you lack consistent reflection. Consider building a support system for your Stoic growth. Maybe it's discussing these principles with a friend who also values personal development, or reading a few lines from Marcus Aurelius or Seneca daily to keep your mindset fresh. You might also find that certain forms of solitude, like a weekend walk in nature, allow deeper assimilation of Stoic teachings. Freed from digital noise, your mind can reflect on the ways you have or haven't lived up to these virtues. These breaks act much like an emperor's private retreat. Even a moment by a windowsill, listening to the hush of dawn, can be a clarifying pause, reminding you of your personal vow to respond wisely, live ethically, and serve kindly. Keep in mind, though, that slips are part of the process. You may catch yourself venting harshly about a coworker or wallowing in negative thinking. Stoicism doesn't demand robotic perfection, but it does encourage immediate recognition of the slip and a subsequent return to calm reasoning. Each time you correct your course, it's akin to strengthening a mental muscle. Over the long arc, your Stoic resilience gains tremendous fortitude. Reflect now on any single personal challenge looming in your life. A difficult relationship, a persistent fear, a scenario you can't quite accept. How might the Stoic perspective shift your approach? Are there aspects within your control that you can handle more gracefully? Could you find meaning in adversity, applying it as a test that clarifies your values? Could daily discipline or reflection help you manage it more effectively? In the hush of your mind, you might sense that the answers lie not in some external rescue, but in the stable foundation you lay inside yourself. That is precisely the Stoic message. Your power, your throne, is right there in your reason and moral nature. If you feel a sense of readiness, hold on to that. If you feel skepticism, allow it. Examine how these rules might earn your trust through consistent practice. Either way, remain open, for the greatest transformations in life begin with a willingness to see differently. Let that reflection rest in you, like a calm ripple settling across still water. With each breath, you continue to unify the Stoic teachings with your personal intentions, forging a robust, balanced mind. As you let the quiet depth of this philosophy guide you, you step ever closer to the role of the wise ruler of your inner realm. Know that these reflections aren't meant to stay in the realm of theory. The next portion will delve even deeper into how to handle life's complexities by using Stoic methods that, once understood, can accompany you anywhere, from the busiest modern metropolis to the most solitary corner of your home. This is how the legacy of ancient empire builders finds a fresh, relevant expression in your day-to-day experiences, empowering you with a sense of anchored calm in a tumultuous age. Let each breath be gentle, each thought unhurried. The path of a modern Stoic emperor is a path of deliberate pace, unfolding step by step in synergy with your experiences. You've now explored how daily practices, self-awareness, and acceptance of adversity converge to fortify the mind. Perhaps you sense the seeds of a deeper equilibrium taking root. Or maybe you just feel a glimmer of relief at the idea that life's unpredictability can be met with reason rather than panic. That sense of relief and possibility is precisely what Stoicism aims to cultivate. From the vantage of Roman history, an emperor's capacity to remain measured under stress was vital, not just for personal well-being, but for the realm's stability. Today, your realm is your personal environment, your job, relationships, mental space, and social responsibilities. Let's expand this concept to examine some specific tensions faced by modern individuals and how Stoic insights can be used like carefully crafted keys to unlock solutions. Navigating the storm of external approval, modern society is drenched in the chase for external validation. Social networks, professional accolades, and social comparisons can leave you feeling that your worth depends on a flicker of recognition from others. Stoics, however, emphasize that genuine peace cannot be contingent on external praise or acceptance. True self-worth must be anchored in one's integrity and alignment with virtue. Marcus Aurelius expressed it plainly, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." He highlighted the irony of living in fear of judgments from strangers, letting them overshadow your own sense of moral rectitude. When you catch yourself modifying your stance purely to preserve a favorable impression, ask, "Am I forsaking my principles to secure fleeting approval?" If yes, then that external applause lacks real value. An emperor's dignity springs from self-honesty, even if the crowd roars in disapproval. Staying true to your reasoned convictions is a hallmark of Stoic nobility. Try an exercise. The next time you post on social media or present an idea at work, do it purely to express your authentic perspective or to offer genuine service. Instead of checking likes or waiting for applause, remind yourself that the worth of your action is measured by sincerity and moral clarity, not by ephemeral responses. Over time, you find that external opinions hold less power to sway your emotional equilibrium. Confronting anxiety about the future. It's common to brood over questions like, what if I fail next year? What if my savings vanish? What if the global economy crashes? The Stoic remedy is a combination of prepared planning and rational acceptance. Yes, you can make wise financial choices, maintain a healthy lifestyle, or network for career resilience. But beyond a certain point, the future remains unknowable. Dwelling on worst-case scenarios siphons your energy from constructive actions. Seneca recommended a technique akin to negative visualization, a paradoxical approach. Occasionally imagine the worst plausible outcome, like losing a job or dealing with a health crisis, and then calmly reflect on how you would cope. In doing this, you not only demystify the fear, but also realize your own resilience. What would I do next? You might ask. You'd probably find solutions or adapt. This exercise, performed in short, rational increments, diminishes anxiety's stranglehold by showing that you can handle far more than you initially suspect. Meanwhile, remain anchored in the present. Do the next right thing. Refine your skills. Maintain supportive relationships. Keep your finances balanced. Or watch your habits. While preparing responsibly, release the rest. This synergy of readiness and trust in your own adaptability is a hallmark of Stoic calm. Real control rests within your daily actions. Tomorrow's challenges can be met only once they truly arrive. Channeling anger into constructive strength. Anger, as we've touched upon, is a self-defeating emotion if left unchecked. But Stoicism does not deny that we can harness a certain intensity for constructive purposes. The difference is subtle. Anger flares impulsively, often disproportionate to the trigger. Righteous determination, or moral indignation, on the other hand, can drive purposeful action without the destructiveness that blinds reason. In a heated conflict, imagine stepping outside the immediate swirl of frustration and scanning your environment. Are you raising your voice or demonizing the other person? The Stoic approach is to moderate your emotional intensity so you can articulate your viewpoint clearly and, if necessary, defend your boundary or principle. No need to let that anger yank you around like a puppet on strings. Instead, think, how can I rectify the situation fairly? Is there a wise boundary to set? This shift transforms raw anger into firm, rational stance. Consider also that perceived insults often stem from the other person's pain or ignorance. Stoics remind us of the universal nature of human fallibility. By recognizing that the offender is still human, perhaps acting from flawed reasoning or stress, you diffuse the personal sting and gain perspective. Empathy can extinguish anger's fire faster than retribution. That is Epictetus. That is internal mastery, overcoming the fear of missing out, FOMO. The modern digital environment encourages constant comparison. You see others traveling, partying, or achieving milestones. A creeping worry can set in. Am I missing out? Should I be living differently? Stoic guidance reminds you to keep your eyes on your own path. Did you choose your current actions and commitments for reasons aligned with your values or personal growth? If so, there's no cause to regret not doing everything else under the sun. You are one individual with finite time and energy. No one can do or be everything. Accepting that fact is liberating. Instead of scurrying to chase every fleeting invitation, focus on a few meaningful pursuits that resonate deeply with you. If you see a friend celebrating a social event that you cannot attend, you can be happy for them without letting envy disrupt your peace. The modern-day emperor recognizes that your own unique journey is precious. That alone redefines FOMO, turning it into a quiet confidence that you're right where you need to be. Stoic leadership. In professional settings, whether you lead a small team, manage a large division, or simply guide your family, Stoic leadership emphasizes fairness, transparency, and moral courage. The tradition of Emperor Marcus Aurelius underscores that leadership is service, not vanity. For instance, if your team faces a setback, Stoic leadership looks at facts calmly, acknowledges any shortfall, then focuses on solutions without blame. If a subordinate errs, you correct them compassionately, understanding that mistakes are part of the human condition. If tough decisions must be made, you do so with an eye toward justice, not personal gain. This approach fosters trust. People naturally gravitate toward a leader who is unruffled by conflict and consistent in upholding virtues. In turn, you experience less internal turmoil because your conscience is clear, your actions principled. This synergy of self-control, fairness, and empathy instills loyalty. You become not a tyrant demanding superficial obedience, but a guide who inspires genuine respect. Stoicism therefore blossoms into a practical leadership framework. Define your organization's virtues: transparency, accountability, empathy, excellence, and embody them. Pause before major decisions, questioning, does this align with our guiding virtues? Over time, your day-to-day interactions form a culture of integrity. And if you are simply an individual contributor in a company, your stoic composure can still be a stabilizing presence that uplifts the group dynamic. Handling emotional turbulence in close relationships. Close relationships, be they romantic partnerships, deep friendships, or parent-child bonds, can evoke strong emotional responses. Stoics do not advise stifling love or vulnerability. After all, Marcus Aurelius cherished his family members deeply. The key is to be mindful that your equilibrium not become hostage to someone else's moods or the normal ups and downs of closeness. Observe whether you slip into excessive control or dependence. If you try to control every aspect of a partner's behavior, you disregard the Stoic principle that other people's actions lie outside your direct power. Trying to shape them to your liking leads to friction. Instead, accept that your loved one is an individual with their own nature. Communicate your feelings and boundaries, but do not chain your peace of mind to their choices. Conversely, if you find yourself overly reliant on a loved one's approval or presence, remember Rule 1. Cling to your own capacity for reason, growth, and self-care. Dependence can stifle both parties. In Stoic relationships, each person aims to be whole within themselves, so their union is a meeting of strong, well-rooted minds, rather than a tangle of unmet needs. Conflicts become easier to navigate because you can approach them with calm respect, not frantic insecurity, fortifying self-worth. Through virtuous action, central to the Stoic worldview is that a worthy life stems from living by moral principles. In that sense, the bedrock of self-esteem is consistently acting in accord with virtue. This can be a potent antidote to the illusions of unworthiness that plague many in the modern era. Instead of measuring yourself against external metrics, looks, status, possessions, concentrate on the quiet dignity of striving to do the right thing daily. That might mean extending kindness to someone who seldom receives it, or refusing to indulge a dishonest impulse, or being the voice of reason in a heated argument. Each time you live out a virtue, you reinforce an internal sense that you are acting as you should in a cosmic sense. There's a subtle but profound transformation when your self-regard is derived from moral living rather than from ephemeral achievements. The outcome is an enduring kind of confidence. Your worth is inherent in the consistent expression of virtue. The practice of non-attachment to outcomes life will forever be uncertain. You can plan meticulously and still face disappointment, or you can step into an endeavor with minimal expectations and experience success. Stoics thus stress the importance of focusing on the process, your sincere effort, your moral stance, while releasing the outcome. This principle is exemplified in countless historical accounts of Stoic individuals refusing to be undone by either victory or defeat. They offered their best, prepared carefully, and if events still went awry, they accepted it as beyond their final control. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview. The Stoic approach is to research thoroughly, refine your presentation, and conduct yourself with honesty. Regardless of whether the job offer comes, you stand content in the knowledge that you approached the process with excellence and integrity. You can reflect, I did everything in my power correctly. The rest is not my domain to command. This acceptance fosters resilience, turning even a rejection into a simple redirection rather than a blow to your identity. This practice can relieve immense psychological burden. Rather than seeing an outcome as a measure of your entire worth, it becomes just one scenario among many in your continuous unfolding path of growth. Building a legacy of inner peace. The Stoics had a keen sense of time's passing. Seneca, in particular, wrote extensively on how swiftly life evaporates if we waste it in busyness and trivial pursuits. By living each day with Stoic intentionality, you create a personal legacy more meaningful than any external monument. You might not become famous in the public sense, but the intangible impact on those around you, your reliability, empathy, fairness, lives on in their memories. A modern-day emperor, then, is not obsessed with carving their name into physical relics. Instead, it is about leaving an imprint on hearts and minds through consistent demonstration of virtue. Perhaps a friend will recall how you offered kind guidance when they were adrift. A colleague might adopt your calm approach to problem-solving because they saw how effectively it worked. This quiet leadership by example ripples outward. Reflect on this whenever doubts creep in about the significance of your daily actions. The Stoic perspective says that small, steady acts of moral clarity far outweigh sporadic big gestures lacking integrity. A modest lamp that burns steadily in darkness can be more valuable than a fleeting burst of fireworks. Over time, these small lights across many individuals can collectively dispel gloom in the broader community. That is the Stoic dream, each person becoming a torchbearer of reason and virtue in their own corner of the world. Acceptance and adaptation in life's cycle. As you age, or as circumstances shift drastically, relocation, changes in family structure, or new phases of a career, Stoicism encourages an adaptable mindset. Like water that finds its way around obstacles, Stoic wisdom guides you to bend with life's transformations, neither clinging to the past nor fearing the future. Accept that flux is the nature of existence. By anchoring yourself in unwavering moral purpose, you navigate transitions without losing your balance. This adaptability also means embracing the joys of each season of life. You cannot remain a youth forever, nor hold on to every relationship in the same form. However, you can choose to gracefully welcome new experiences, letting them shape your ongoing growth. That choice is an emperor's prerogative, recognizing that no external shift robs you of your selfhood unless you let it. If any of this resonates with a problem or situation you're experiencing right now, feel free to let it linger in your consciousness. You might sense a quiet readiness to face that challenge anew, equipped with Stoic perspective. Or you may simply feel a gentle confirmation that indeed you are not helpless before the world's uncertainties. Stoicism is an invitation to mastery of the self, a path open to all who commit to thoughtful, earnest practice. Let the calm linger, taking a moment to acknowledge that each of these reflections is only as beneficial as the sincerity you bring to them. You are, in effect, forging your own shield layer by layer, piece by piece, that you can carry into the daily battle against discouragement, confusion, or fear. Stoic practice assures you that the real battlefield is within your mind, and it is there that the greatest victories are won. Allow yourself to trust that living by these rules is not an unreachable ideal, but an attainable way of life. As we move forward, consider that the ultimate fruit of Stoicism is not the elimination of challenges, but the emergence of an unwavering presence amid them. You stand in the chaos, yet the chaos does not consume you. In the next segment, we'll further clarify how these Stoic rules manifest in personal projects, daily decision-making, and even creative endeavors, showing how emperor-like composure can fuel innovation and deeper fulfillment. Stoicism is not about dry detachment. It's an invitation to engage with life wholeheartedly, yet from a vantage of serenity. And that, in essence, is the hallmark of a truly sovereign mind.